Hi everybody, welcome to our Google Hangout I have with these lovely ladies from Europe. My name is Simone Milasas. Welcome to the Joy of Business. I think we've all got one of these.
Yay!
Yay! Yay! So welcome to the Joy of Business. So one of the things that I wanted to, we're just going to do like a 30-minute hangout. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, we're going to ask some questions and some tools, is committing to your life. Because until you commit to your life, you can't create your own financial reality. You'll always end up buying somebody else. So that's one of the things that I wanted to have a look at, and possibly running a couple of processes. So we have the lovely Vladi here, who is the, I'm not going to butcher your last names. We were doing something the other day with Jonas, and I had to read out all these names, and there's all these Indian names and Swedish names, and he was hysterical because I'm like, I just can't get this. So I did not pronounce your name correctly, Vladi. What's your last name?
It's Georgievich.
Georgievich.
Yes.
Vladika Georgievich. So Vladika is our host for the class in Helsingborg in Sweden, which we'll be coming to very soon. We'll be in the cold. It's hot. It's really, really hot here in Australia. So, Vladi, over to you.
Well, hello, Simone. Hello, the world. I'm really excited that Simone Milasas is coming to Helsingborg. What a great honor for us to have you here. To shortly introduce myself, my name is not Vladika, as they call me in Sweden and everywhere in the world, but Vladica. Vladica Georgievich, born in Serbia. And I used to work in the corporate world for more than 20 years. As a project manager, I was a project leader, and I worked in marketing and sales, and I worked for an international company actually, and it was so interesting for me because for me business was always about struggle, you know, working hard, and especially as a woman you have to work hard and show that you know more. And then I met you, Simone, and it was 4 years ago. I did a class with you in Stockholm, which actually gave me the courage to change my life. I quit my job. I started my own business a month after a class with you, and here I am. And today, it's amazing. It's amazing to use the tools that you are inspiring with and to step into that potency that we are. So I'm really, really excited to have you here in our small town in Helsingborg, and I would like to ask you some questions about the class that you are going to do here February 26th, but also a little bit about you. Who are you? Who is this Wonder Woman who is a successful entrepreneur and an international author and a business owner, and you are also a worldwide coordinator for Access Consciousness? Where do you get your energy from?
You know what, good question. I was just talking to Steve and Chitissa Bowman yesterday, who live in Australia, and you know, they're just as busy as me, and Steve was commenting about, you know, myself and Chitissa, his wife, being some of the most busiest women that he knows, and the most impatient when things don't show up straight away. So, you know what though, it's like if you have this, I mean, I hear so many people say, well, I've got so much to do. It's like, you know, how can I possibly fit anything else in? It's like a great question you can ask is, who or what else can I add to my business? Now, one of the things too, Vladi, is that I never look at cutting anything else out. It's like, okay, if it feels light, which is one of the tools we talk about in Access, it's like, you know, if it feels light, it's usually right. If it feels heavy, then it's usually got some sort of, you know, solidity to it. So if it feels light, I usually end up choosing it. No matter if I'm really busy, I will keep choosing it because something always shows up that creates it to be, you know, easy and quicker and faster. But you have to be willing to add someone else, a people, system, anything to your business. Because one of the things I see people destroy their businesses is when they think they have to do everything themselves. It's like, what if you didn't have to do everything yourself? And I also see people sort of cut themselves off from, you know, if you're working 9 to 5, and it's like, I'm sorry, the joy of business is not about working 9 to 5. The joy of business is about the adventure of living. It's like creating your life, committing to your life. So you take the dog for a walk on the beach, and you're still creating. It's like, I don't know about you, but I always come back, I've got my phone on me, and I'm like, oh, this, or I record myself for all these ideas that I come up with, or something I have to put into action that day. So it's like, what if you were always on? And what if it wasn't about work? What if it was literally about the joy of business, which is, to me, the adventure of living?
Yeah, that sounds really, really, really amazing. And yes, it's like that for me too nowadays, but it wasn't like that a couple of years ago. So, Simone, but how was the Joy of Business created?
Well, I've worked with Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access Consciousness, and Dr. Dane here for about 14 years. And there was actually, well, Gary sort of very strongly encouraged me, because I was having a discussion with him one day about something, and I couldn't understand why someone was doing something, and he said, well, what don't you get about that? And I said, well, there's no joy in that, and it's about business, and business is joyful. And he looked at me and he was like, no, it's not. And I went, yes, it is. Why would you do it if you didn't find it joyful? And he said, Simone, in this reality, he said, people don't do business for the joy of it. And he looked at me and he said, you need to do classes on this. You need to do, you know, you need to teach people about this. And I was like, oh, yeah, I thought everybody sort of got that. So it took me about 2 years. And then I started to do some seminars. And then I realized how many people were so grateful for the tools that I took for granted, because I'm not sure why. It's not a why. It's like, I always loved business. Growing up as a child, like in my teenage years, people would talk about going to college, getting married, and I was always like, I'm going to own my own business, because for me, it felt like one of the most creative, malleable things that you could choose. So I always designed to own my own business, so it was fun for me. So anyway, so I got started, I did seminars, and then I ended up writing a book, which I've had a huge amount of feedback from, and it's also now translated into Croatian, Spanish, German, Polish, Italian, and Turkish is coming out in a couple of months, and we're looking at French as well. So how exciting is that? That matches the energy of what I'd like to see in the world, the whole entire world. Can you imagine that? The whole entire world functioning from the joy of business, from the place. Now, and also it's like, what is joy of business? Joy of business is not, you know, walking around and every day at work is like, woohoo, happy and joyful and, you know, laughing hysterically. It's like, it's the willingness to choose anything, give anything a go. It's the willingness to let it go, the willingness to lose it, the willingness to have it, the willingness to make money, the willingness to lose money. It's that willingness to play with what you're creating. That's the joy of business, to ask questions, make a demand, choose, have more possibilities available to you.
So what
and make money while you do it.
Do you ask, Simone? What kind of questions do you ask?
What sort of questions do I ask? Gosh, well, I ask, I mean, even first thing in the morning, it's like I'll always, you know, wake up, have a coffee and be like, okay, so what's next? What business requires me today? What project requires me today? And you always have this awareness of what is required. So it's like you take yourself out of the linearity, like the lines of linearity of going, I mean, how many people have like a to-do list, and the next day they're adding to their to-do list rather than asking questions and going, okay, so what would create more today? What would create more for me and my business today? Who do I have to speak to? And it's like, so if you're willing to follow the energy, it's like asking any questions is a good question. I mean, gosh, it's like if you're in sales, it's like every single time you make a sale or you don't make a sale, ask a question. What else is possible? How does it get any better than this? If you're giving a massage or, you know, a massage therapist or any sort of therapist, it's like every time you get a client, now this is a really very easy tool to use. It's like, every time you get a client, and it's like the energy that you've created by, you know, their body being happy by the massage or the bars that you've just run or a class that you've done and everybody's walking out going, wow, I can actually change my life. Ask for that energy to contribute to your business, to contribute to the next clients showing up, to contribute to the next class showing up. Now, how easy is that? There's no linearity to it.
No,
it's just a matter of the energy to contribute to your business.
Absolutely not. And this is what is so inspiring, and I would like to say revolutionary about the business and the corporate world. I mean, I remember when I worked on the, with marketing. I mean, we do our business plan, we put our goals, and we have our activity list, and we just follow that, as we said, as you mentioned. But this is a totally new way of doing business. Imagine if you could just say, oh, this doesn't work. What else is possible? What else can show up in my business? Where else can I take this, and where can I go with it? So please, just one more question. So please talk about what is the difference between putting a goal in your business or a target?
Okay, so I would actually, well, a goal is something that is sort of this end result. It's like, you know, if you're asking for a goal, if you've got a goal, it's like there's nothing else that can show up. Now, a target is forever moving, and it's like, so you can change it. But what I would actually ask for beyond that is awareness. It's like, what's the awareness you can have with your business? It's like, what awareness do you have that you can create greater future possibilities? Because what if it was the, I mean, for me, it was like, you know, I used to live in London years and years ago, and I started writing down different ideas that I had for a business. And for me, I looked around, and there was this one time where I was traveling on one of those big red buses from one end of London to the other. I didn't have much money at the time, so, you know, traveling on a big red bus, sightseeing was fun for me. And and I watched everyone as I went by, and I went through all these different neighborhoods. Like I went through wealthy neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, you know, Jewish neighborhoods, Pakistani neighborhoods, you know, white, black, all that. And I looked at it and I went, oh, it didn't matter what color someone was, what religion they were, how old they were, how much money they had or didn't have. I couldn't see a great deal of happiness as we were traveling along in the bus. And, you know, each bus stop I'd look out the window and I'd be like, wow, what if the world became a much happier place? How could we increase the happiness quota? So I started writing down a business idea I had. And the whole idea was, I mean, we started off with T-shirts, and we had things written on them like, be the change you want to see in the world, which is a Gandhi quote. And I took things from that I heard in conversations from people, you know, traveling around the world. Like I once heard someone say, be open to the moments of life, do not be afraid. And that was exactly what I wished to put out there into the world. So that was an awareness of what I wished to create. So I kept adding to it. I mean, eventually I remember some lady bought 10 of my T-shirts because she said, I don't even wear T-shirts, but I think your T-shirts are fabulous. I want to hang them around my house. And I was like, wow, hang them around your house. Okay, what else could we create? So it's an awareness, and as your awareness increases, then we started doing magnets and stickers, etc. From that business is actually how I met Gary Douglas and Access Consciousness. So I am extremely grateful that all of those awarenesses I had created that business and then also led me to here. Now, what other awareness do I have that can lead me further beyond this? So everything that is, let's do an Access Consciousness clearing statement, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I'm just going to slip in a little process here that we can run throughout the Google Hangout. What would you have to acknowledge about you that if you did would allow you to commit to your life and create infinite possibilities? Now, what's that got to do with business? Business is your life is your business, okay? So everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. And you just have to say yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you're watching this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can go to a website called theclearingstatement.com and check it out. It's weird, it's wacky, it works.
Thank you so much. So we have some colleagues with us on the line, and I was thinking maybe, would you like to ask Simone a question, or would you like to share something with the world about the joy of business? Lisa?
Yes.
Oh, you have callers. I thought you were saying you had some people phoning in, Vladi,
Yeah.
and I was like,
I was actually, I thought you were okay.
it's the English barrier, I think.
Yeah.
It's the language barrier, lost in translation. Cool. Okay. So I can take over from here. I was like, oh, okay, let's just go with that. So that's the thing. How many things show up in your life and your business that I mean, can you ever be prepared for anything? And it's like, no, nothing ever shows up the way you think it's going to show up. So when Vladi said that, I was like, oh, okay, she's got some callers coming in. What's right about this we're not getting, you know? So you start to ask questions rather than go to the wrongness of anything. Because one of the things I'd like to really stress is, what if you were never wrong? And what if you never had any judgments about you or your business? And it's like, it doesn't matter if I mean, so many people I see calibrating their success based on the amount of money they have in their bank account. What if that wasn't how you calibrated your success? What if it was more about the changes that you created and you asked for money to show up, but it was about the changes that you created in the world? I mean, what's your awareness? If you're a massage therapist, what would you like to have? It's like, yeah, sure, you'd like the money to show up in your bank account. And do you love it when they get off the table and they're like, oh, that feels great, my body feels wonderful, I'm, you know, so grateful for you. And it's like, what if that energy could create more in your life and you haven't been willing to acknowledge it? So everything that is, let's destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now I can follow the lead. So we do have wonderful ladies here on the Google Hangout from Europe. So, like I said, I'm the one drinking coffee in the morning, and Lisa said, I'm going to go get a glass of wine. So we have this is Lisa from Stockholm. Yes. I made a mistake once. I said northern Sweden, and she corrected me. It's not northern Sweden. It's Stockholm. To me it was. I just looked at it as the south and the north. Bad Simone from Australia, my geography. So, Lisa, I actually wanted to ask you guys some questions too, because you've got quite a successful business in Sweden.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you too, it's like, what's some of your favorite tools to use in business? What have you been implementing?
I would agree on what you said earlier about just being in the question, and because I've got several different projects. I got one big company. It's a healthcare center for pregnant women. And then I'm also a writer and a model and also an access facilitator and a host. So I got quite a lot of projects going on. And so when I was thinking about my favorite tool, it would probably be that every morning I start the morning with asking, so where do I need to put my energy today? Because since there's so many things, I could be overwhelmed, but could an infinite being be overwhelmed? No. So today I know that I can follow what I know, and when I ask that question, I will be aware of where I need to put my energy that day, and I will do that. And then also, it's so cool to allow yourself to be as ADHD as you truly be, because I've lived a very inboxed life, trying to do everything right, trying not to be judged, and trying to, you know, do it right. And that did not work for me. I almost killed myself doing that. So today, just to allow me to just follow the energy and just know that if I ask a question and I perceive an energy of where I need to go, I just go there. And then I ask one more question and I go there. And there is a flow in just doing that, and it's so much fun when there's no, you know, like you said, no list, no form, no structure. It's just the energy of what can I create today that would create more for me and for everyone, for my family and for the world. So, yeah.
So, Lisa, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. How much harder is that? Is that takes a lot of energy?
No, it's actually so easy and so much fun. I was sitting here today, and after I was on the class that Gary and Dane did this weekend, it was the Home of Infinite Possibility, and that was such an awesome class because we talked about a lot of stuff, but one of the things was, like you said, committing to your life and truly not having a back door out on anything, just being present in your life, with your business, with whatever is in your life, and just be there and just choose and create more and more and more. So waking up on Monday morning, it was first a little bit wonky because my awareness had increased so fucking much, and I'm in Sweden, it's dark, and it's Monday morning, and it's like, ah. But then I remembered to ask, who does this belong to? And I know it's not mine today. So, and then I just started creating, and the energy was so crazily, immensely intense. And it was so much fun. So I think I've created more in these 2 last days than I did. Yeah. So back to your question. It's much more easier and much more fun.
One of the things I noticed, Lisa, is on that class that you mentioned with Gary Douglas and Dane here, the Home of Infinite Possibilities, which, yes, it was absolutely fabulous. And if you've done Foundation and 1 in Access, you can actually purchase it. Gary was like, did I really make the prerequisites Foundation 1 for this? He said, I think I did the injustice. But no, it's like, what's right about it, you're not getting. There's so many people who were so grateful. But one of the things I noticed, and I get this, like we were talking about with, committing to your life and your business can grow, is that once you do that, it's like the things that you've been ignoring or avoiding and then you think you can't change, suddenly change like that. And it becomes really easy. And, we talk about these access tools, and anyone listening to this, if you're thinking, oh, yeah, blah, 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 but, it's like, it's really easy. Yes, they can do that. It's like, it really is that easy. I mean, I'm so incredibly grateful for Access Consciousness and the tools. 14 years ago, I'm pretty sure I would have ended up dead if I hadn't met Gary Douglas and started asking questions. And, I was talking to someone last night, and when they first started Access, all they did was every week for 6 weeks, they got their bars run, which is a hands-on process that we do in Access, and you can find, there's over 2,000 facilitators around the world, so I'm pretty sure you can find a bars facilitator, and getting your bars run creates the ease. It's like, I mean, yesterday, it's like I was, I woke up and I was like, my head felt really full, and I asked someone to run my bars, and it's like an hour and a half later, and you're up, and it's like, oh, this is great. And it's like the mantra of Access is all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. It's like it really is true. What if life was not meant to be hard and not meant to be full of judgments? It's like, how much energy are you using to judge yourself, judge your business, judge the amount of money you have or the amount of money you don't have, rather than what can you create today? So everything at that is where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I'll run this process again. So what would you have to acknowledge about you that if you did would allow you to commit to your life and create infinite possibilities, which is exactly what we've been talking about with Lisa. So everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So, and we've also got Helle from Copenhagen.
Yes.
So welcome, Helle. Maximilia and Taris. Did I just butcher your name?
Yes, you're good. Yes.
Oh, good. So now you've got a very successful business as well in Copenhagen. I mean, you sent me an email the other day and you're like, oh, we've had 100 new clients in this really short period of time. And I was like, yes. It's like that. So what's some of your favorite tools that you've found that have created your business to be more fun, more money, more?
Learn to ask questions. Yes. After
that question thing.
Yeah. And when I was a little girl, my mom always said, oh, you always ask question. So when I get into Access, and then Gary was talking about asking questions, wow, how can I do that? So that's really a muscle I had to train, So, yes, so every morning I ask questions. What can I add?
When you say that too, Helle, because it's like when you were, like when we were at school, etc., are we ever taught to ask questions, or is it more about having the answer? And it's like that's something that is so stipulated that it's like you must have the answer, find the answer, show you're working out, how did you get that answer? Rather than, it's so refreshing to all of a sudden be like, what? All I have to do is have a question. I don't have to have an answer.
Yes, exactly. And coming from a psychotherapeutic world, you always have to analyze and get the question, get the answer and all that. So you have really built a bridge for me, coming from a psychotherapist work and building a business. Because for me, in my past, a business was for me with people in suits going to a big company, and it was all about money. And what really came to me, last year when I met you at the evening class, with level 2 and 3, you built this bridge, that I have always, worked from. It's not about the money, but helping people. So yes, so it's really changed for me that I can do both. So you really built a bridge for me. So yeah.
Cool. And then let me ask you too, are you also willing to receive money?
Yes, now I am. Yes. Yes.
Good. I remember going through this stage. I mean, I had many discussions over glasses of wine as I was growing up about what the purpose of life was, and I was always like, well, I think I'm here to help people and do this, and and finally it was so refreshing when I met Gary Douglas in Access, and Gary's like, what if the purpose of life was to have fun? I'm like, seriously, you're allowed to say that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I get, it's like, if you're actually having fun, it's like, look at the world. It's like, does the world prefer you to be having fun and being joyful, or does it prefer to you to be stressed and judging about what's going on? I mean, we talk about, when you're kind, etc., and you show gratitude to a plant, that it actually grows. It's true. That's what happens. It's like the most harm you can do to our planet is the anger and the trauma and drama that people have. So what if it was about being happy and being joyful in your business? And if you're not currently doing what you love, why are you doing it? This is your life. And it's like, if you're committing to your life, it's like, start to choose what works for you. Now, one of the tools I would say is destroy and uncreate everything that you have so far created with your business, your partners, it's like colleagues, every single industry you've ever worked in, everything you've decided that's right and everything you've decided is wrong. Destroy and uncreate everything that is, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, this is a very cool question. If money wasn't the issue, what would you choose? Because that takes you to the place of what would you create? It's like, if money wasn't the issue, what would you choose? So even if you indulge and play with this, and it's like, so tomorrow morning when you wake up, it's like, destroy and uncreate everything that you've decided is right and wrong in business, with money, your life, partners, everything, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. If money wasn't the issue, what would I choose? And start to have a look at what it is you'd like to create, because business is a creation. I mean, I did a session with someone one day, and they were saying, oh, I hate business, I don't want to do business, and they were complaining about it. I said, what do you love to do? And she said, well, I love writing, like she's written books. And I went, guess what? That's your business. So what if you misidentified and misapplied business as? It's like, have you misidentified and misapplied business as, having to do the bookkeeping, and it's like, do the filing or do the accounts, and it's like, guess what? You don't have to do that. You have to be aware of it, definitely asking you to be aware of your financial reality, but you don't have to do that. It's like every part of you, if you're committing to your life, becomes your business. So what would you like to do? Now, one of the tools that Gary Douglas talks about is getting a book, or nowadays people have their phones, and start writing a list of everything that you love doing. Because usually what you think has no value and you can make money from, you find really easy, you think it has no value, you can make money from it. So, even if it's, I like cooking, I like talking to kids, I like driving, I like, making phone calls, and then look at the list and go, okay, what's the possibilities of making money from this? How could I create this as a business? Or who or what requires me? Now, you have to ask questions. When you ask a question, as we've all mentioned here, it's not about finding the answer. It's about actually, like asking the energy to show up. It's like the universe is a banquet. There's so much available, and every time you ask a question, it's like, I look at it as like a tree. It's like you ask a question, and then here's a branch of possibilities that open up, and you choose. And every time you make a choice and ask another question, there's another branch of possibilities that shows up. So each choice will create another awareness, and just because you make a choice doesn't mean you have to stick to it. Now, it doesn't mean you don't get like a gold star or be the best person in the world if you've worked at your job for the 10 years or 20 years. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to leave your job. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to start a new business. It doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, Colonel Sanders, I'm not sure it was a great idea, but Colonel Sanders from Kentucky Fried Chicken got his winning recipe, I think it was the age of 82 or 92. That's when he actually eventually made money. How many people give up and think that they're too old, or they've got a family now, they've got kids, so they can't, start a business, they can't do anything? You know what? You can do anything. You just have to choose, and you have to start to create. So what would you have to acknowledge about you that if you did, would allow you to commit to your life and create infinite possibilities? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And again, if you want to know more about that statement, theclearingstatement.com, and you can find out more. So, Miss Anne, over to you in Scotland. So you've got a partner, you've got kids, you've got these fabulous kids. I've seen them running around, access classes. So tell me some of your favourite tools that you've got in business. What have you been using that has assisted you?
Well, my very favourite and the absolute priority one is, how much fun am I going to have with this? How much fun can I have? And that's just been such a contribution in terms of everything, because my point of view is I'm in the business of living, and all the various projects I do are a contribution to that and an adventure within that. So it's how much fun can I have with this is one of my favorite tools. And you've already mentioned that thing of committing to yourself and choosing for you. And it's really interesting to me because since you invited me to do this hangout, the willingness to say yes to do it just sort of exploded into my universe, and all of a sudden this popped up and that popped up, and it's just been really fascinating that those things have coincided, and I've heard it and I've got it intellectually, but that thing, you get it when you get it, is that I chose to say yes. I chose to ask how much fun I can have with it, and all these other things are popping up that are enriching my lives and in turn enrich the lives of my kids and everybody else that bumps into me. So I had to get any better than that.
Exactly, and they're questions. And thank you for that, Anne, because that is such a, it's a good example of what we were saying before. It's like when you start to commit to your life, like we said, it's like everything that you have been currently ignoring or avoiding starts to change. Anything that you think you can't change, it just starts to show up. So, and you can start with a simple question. I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday, and like I said, they first started Access, and they got their bars run every week for like 6 weeks. And then something occurred that sort of flipped them about their life. And the bars facilitator who was working with them, he rang them and said, hey, what do I do here? And she gave him one tool, one question, and she said, keep asking, how does it get any better than this? And he said to me, I just said it over and over and over again, how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? And he didn't see any sense in it at the time. But he said, I noticed that I started to have more clarity and ease with the situation. So this is not about making it hard. This is about ease, joy, and glory. And that is the joy of business, and that's Access Consciousness, and that's the tool. So I'm incredibly grateful for all of you ladies coming on here too. So let's run that process again. What would you have to acknowledge about you that if you did would allow you to commit to your life and create infinite possibilities? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And I'm going to sneak one more in here. And these are from the Home of Infinite Possibilities, the class that I just did, that Lisa did. It was phenomenal. I mean, I was getting up it was live streamed, and I'm in Australia, and I was getting up at 1:30 a.m. to put it on. So I was, for 3 days, it was a little bit like, woo, having afternoon naps and, all over the place. But it was so fabulous and so worth it. So what creation of your life as the facade of living and doing are you using to avoid the commitment to life and living you could be choosing? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So what creation of your life as the facade of living and doing are you using to avoid the commitment to life and living you could be choosing? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, the interesting thing is things change, okay? And it's like I just recently did my Joy of Business Foundation class, which is a 1-day class or a telecall, and the Joy of Business Advanced class, which is a 2-day class, and the prerequisite is the foundation class in Australia, Mooloolaba, and it was live streamed. And after this Home of Infinite Possibilities call and a few conversations with Gary, of course, I'm rewriting the whole foundation manual this week in time for Sweden in Helsingborg.
Yay.
So if you have come to a Joy of Business class and you think you know what it is, then you may want to destroy and uncreate that point of view, because it's going to be entirely different. Now, this is what I would encourage you to do with your businesses as well, because something wasn't sitting right with me, and I kept asking questions and was like, what's right about this I'm not getting? What else do I have to add to this? And I had a chat to Gary. I was listening to some of the Access Consciousness classes, and it also all of a sudden just went, and I had these awareness of what it could look like. So I'm rewriting it. Now, do I make that an answer? No. It's like, this is a greater possibility. So it's been rewritten, never been done like this before, and who's to say I won't rewrite it again? And it's like, because things change. Life changes, your business changes. So you have to be willing to ask more questions, follow the energy, like all of these ladies have been talking about, and choose based on that, and then make another choice. I mean, we talk about in Access Consciousness that, you know, one of the tools is 10-second increments, to live your life in 10-second increments, choose in 10-second increments. So once you make a choice, 10 seconds. Next choice, 10 seconds. Now people go, but that's not committing. It is. It's like the willingness to change at any moment. So what if you were willing to change any area of your life that you think is not working for you? And what could show up? So all of life comes to others with ease, joy, and glory, the joy of business. So I would like to thank you ladies so much for joining me today. They've been assisting and helping in creating the class in Sweden. We've also got one in Poland a few days later. So coming to Europe, I'm pretty excited. You know what? I'm excited about wearing a big coat and a scarf. You know how hot it's been here? We've had the air conditioning on here for days on end. Even swimming in the ocean, it's just like the water has been so warm. And I know you're all probably going, Simone?
Yeah.
Not really wanting to hear that, but last night we were saying, I can't wait to put nice big warm Ugg boots on and a big jacket and a scarf. And then once I get there, I'll be like, So, but I'm very much looking forward to coming over. So is there anything that you ladies would like to finish off with here?
I would just like to say one of the things that Dane told me a couple of years ago when things were starting to change and I was creating a lot more and having a lot more fun and yeah, having a greater life. And he said, so what if you, at the same time as you ask for more, also be grateful for what you already received and what you created? Because sometimes it's like you just run and it's so much happening, and then it's like, okay, so what can I actually be grateful for today as well that's already here, and what else can I add, and what else is possible? And that has been a really big key for me as well. So yeah.
Thank you. That is really cool. Thank you, Lisa. And add that too with like what Lisa was saying with money. And it's like, because I see people judge all the time the amount of money they don't have, rather than looking at it and when, what if you were like, wow, I just made €100, I just made €10, I just made €1, $1, wherever you are, pounds, wherever it is. But what if you were grateful for everything that showed up in your life? Because from that energy of gratitude, then more can show up. But if you judge it, then how can anything else show up? It's like, you know, I mean, Gary, I love the story when he says, you know, if you invite money to a party, and it's like, and you say, there's going to be no music, there's going to be no food, no alcohol, everyone's going to be sad and miserable. Oh, do you want to come? You're not going to want to go. But if there's a party where you're joyful and you're grateful for everything around you, and it's like, you know, and you're having fun, there's music, it's like great food, it's like having a nice glass of wine, it's like all of that, then people are going to want to show up. Money's going to want to show up, because money follows joy. Joy does not follow money. So everywhere that you think, as soon as you get a certain amount of money, then you'll be happy, will you destroy and uncreate it? Because you can choose joy right now. Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, on, hate and shores, boys and beyonds. Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else? So thank you so much for joining us today. And if you would like to find out more about Joy of Business, access joyofbusiness.com. You can register for the classes in Sweden there and in Poland, anywhere in the world, find out what we're doing. And if you want to find out more about Access too, go to accessconsciousness.com. All of these ladies are facilitators, so you can go and see any of these ladies, get your bars run, go to a bars class, go to a Access Foundation class, level 1. They travel all over the place, they've got businesses, they're successful, they're great facilitators. I invite you to go check it out. If it's in your area, or if it's not in your area, heck, I love these places where they all live. So thank you so much, and good night, good morning, good afternoon from Joy of Business. So goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.